Duty exemption and remission schemes for inputs. When you manufacture an export product, the inputs and raw material that go into making the export product might suffer duties and taxes. These duties and taxes make the product costly in the international market. To make the product at par in the international market, the government has designed various duty exemption and remissions schemes to offset the input duties and taxes. In short, the mantra is, products should be exported, not the taxes. Chapter 4 of the Foreign Trade Policy talks about these duty exemption and remission schemes. What are these schemes? 1. Duty remission scheme. Currently, there is only one duty remission scheme which is administered by the Customs Department and is known as Duty Drawback Scheme. Under Duty Drawback Scheme, a percentage of total free on-board FOB price is reimbursed to the exporter directly to their bank accounts. The percentage reimbursement varies from product to product, depending on the duties generally suffered on the inputs while making the export product. This percentage rate is published annually by the Department of Revenue after the budget. 2. Duty exemption schemes. If one is making an export product, one has a choice to procure inputs and raw. Currently, there are two duty exemption schemes. First, an advance authorization AA scheme, and second, duty-free import authorization DFIA scheme. Advance authorization is issued to allow duty-free import of input which is physically incorporated in the export product. Authorization is issued for inputs in relation to the resultant product. This is calculated based on Standard Input-Output Norms SION, or the basis of self-declaration. The SION norms specify how much of input is required for making an export item. This also accounts for the wastage of the input in the production process. For example, if we were to make a size 40 shirt for export, SION would tell us how much of fabric would be allowed under AA. Currently, SION is published by DGFT for more than 11,000 products. If your export product is not listed under SION, or if your requirements differ, you may go under self-declaration. And yes, if you want to use Indian inputs in place of imported inputs, even then AA schemes comes to your help. You may get the AA invalidated against domestic procurement and save on central excise duties. In short, imported or Indian, you don't pay duties and taxes as long as you export the finished product. DFIA scheme is similar to AA scheme. It is also allowed for duty-free import of inputs. Unlike AA, DFIA is issued on a post-export basis for products for which SION has been notified. Further, DFIA shall be exempted only from payment of basic customs duty and not total duties. Also, DFIA is transferable. That is, if you don't need those duty-free inputs after the exports, you may transfer your license to a needy friend for money. What is the export obligation under each of the schemes? 1. Under each of the duty exemption schemes, a minimum value addition must be achieved. It means that the final value of the export items should be a percentage value above the value of inputs used. Under AA scheme, minimum value addition of 15% must be achieved in the inputs procured, while under DFIA scheme, the minimum value addition is 20%. For example, if the inputs used AA are of $100, the final product must be sold for at least $115 under AA and $120 under DFIA. 2. Further, under each of the schemes, the exports must be made and the proof of exports must be furnished within a given obligation period. This period is 18 months under the AA scheme and 12 months under the DFIA scheme. How to apply? To apply for an authorization, one has to make an online application with one's digital signature on the DGFT website under application form ANF 4A. Please refer the detailed video on advance authorization application process for further information. And also, you may refer the FAQs on Chapter 4 on DGFT website for further clarification. It all sounds very confusing. So, can we explain in simple steps the entire process from start to finish for advance authorization? Okay, let's summarize. These schemes ensure that you don't pay duties on inputs that go into export products. And if you have already paid the duties on inputs, you may get it remitted through drawback. For not paying duties, you have Advance Authorization Scheme and DFIA Scheme. Under Advance Authorization, you do the following steps. Step 1. List down the inputs and raw material that goes into export product. Step 2. Apply for AA from DGFT. Step 3. Get the license from DGFT and go to Customs, register the bond and import all the inputs that go into export product duty-free. If you want to procure indigenously and not import the inputs, you may invalidate the license and get the input without paying central excise duties. Step 4. Do the exports. Endorse AA number on shipping bills while exporting. Get the money for exports. Banks would issue EBRC, that is, Electronic Bank Realization Certificate, for getting the money for exports. Step 5. Apply to DGFT for issue of Export Obligation Discharge Certificate for fulfilling your promise of exporting. Step 6. Close the bond at Customs. Once you do it, it is very easy to follow. For any further help, speak to the Niryat Bandhu officer at the DGFT office closest to you. For more specific details regarding these schemes, please read through Chapter 4 of the Foreign Trade Policy and the Handbook of Procedures, which are available on the DGFT website.